Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my Sunday service. Thanks for that title, Jace. Love it. Right, this is the one where I do a top 10. I've also got a list of 5 movies that I bought recently and I've shied away from watching due to the fact that I'm probably not going to like them due to the violence or whatever. So why did I buy them? Because other people recommended them and I thought it might be nice to give them a go. So, but that's coming up a bit later on. Also, a couple of movies that I've watched, a couple of bits and pieces that I've bought, and a soundtrack of the week. So, I'll start with the top 10. I've got Mark's top 10 here. Mark Bailey. Mark's been a member of the group for as far back as I can remember. His top 10. It's a good mix. These are in no particular order, so I'll just read them in the list as I go down the list. First one, Young Guns. I saw it a long time ago. This is Kiefer Sutherland and a lot of other young stars of the time. Now this is, if I remember right, it's a Western, and they all play fairly famous sort of gunfighters of the time, i.e. Billy the Kid, that kind of thing. I remember it being very good, but I can't remember an awful lot else about it. It's a while since I've seen this. I think we're going back to about 1987 or 8, if I remember correctly. But I do remember it being a good movie, one that I need to revisit at some point. Next one is Predator. What a classic. Schwarzenegger from 87 or 88 again. As I've said before, I remember this one coming into the video shop when I worked in there, so it would have been about 87 or 88. And whereas we used to get 1 or 2 copies of certain films, the big blockbusters of the time, we used to get 10, 20, sometimes 30 copies. And I remember Predator taking up an entire panel. I think we'd had about 20 copies of it, and every single one went out on the first day and continued to go out for maybe a couple of weeks straight after. So I do remember it being very popular. It's a cracking movie without a doubt. Not seen Predator 2, and I've not actually seen any of the other Predator movies, so I've no idea what they're like. I'm fairly sure they're not going to be as good as this original though. Really enjoyed this one, and I still watch it now when it's showing on sort of Sky Action or whatever it is. I normally end up watching it, but yeah, really, really good film. Next one, House of a Thousand Corpses. I don't know much about this apart from the fact I think it's a Rob Zombie film. Am I right? It's obviously a horror movie. I presume it's zombie based, and I'm also assuming it is extremely violent, as Rob Zombie's movies normally are. It is one that I've meant to watch for quite a while. I think, if I remember correctly, it's a remake. I think there was a movie called The House of a Thousand Corpses out in probably the 70s. I'm going back a bit with that one, but it's one that I do need to check out at some point. Blade, brilliant. This is one of those movies that I avoided for ages, and when I finally got to watch it, I wondered why I'd avoided it, because I absolutely loved it. Mega violent. Wesley Snipes at the height of his career, of his powers. Superb movie about vampires. That's pretty much all you can say. I do remember the opening track playing in the nightclub. I can't remember what it was called or who it was by or whatever, but I do remember thinking, my God, I bet that sounds absolutely mega in an actual club. But the movie itself, superb. Just going to touch my screen because I'm doing this on the phone. Next one down, White Men Can't Jump. I have never seen this, and there's a good reason I've never seen it. This was out at a time when I was working at a place where most of the young lads that worked there had seen this, and they were forever quoting lines from it, and it used to drive me nuts. There was another movie I did like this a few weeks ago. What was it? Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. That was another one that they latched onto and just quoted endlessly. One line was, is it ain't no thing but a chicken wing on a string, or something like that. It used to drive me mad. Is that a line from that one, Mark? You can tell me that because you've obviously seen it a few times. But that kind of movie I tend not to bother with, although I've heard since that it is really good and I probably would enjoy it, so maybe at some point I'll take that one in. The next one, From Dusk Till Dawn. Um, I can't remember who directed this. Was it Robert Rodriguez? I know Quentin Tarantino had something to do with it, and I believe it had George Clooney in it. I have seen it a long time ago. I do remember it being mega gory. I think this was to do with vampires and creatures of the night as well, if I remember right. But a brilliant movie. Am I right in saying that it's been turned into a TV series? I seem to remember hearing something just recently about a TV series. Maybe I've got that one wrong. But yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn is an absolute corker of a movie. I would put it in the same bracket as something like John Carpenter's Vampires, just outrageously violent, but very, very good with it. So yeah, that's one I would definitely watch again. Next one is Grosse Point Blank. This, if I remember correctly, is John Cusack playing a hitman who turns up to his high school reunion. That's pretty much all I know about it. This is another movie that I've heard great things about, and over the years I've meant to check it out and never really got the chance to. But now you've mentioned it, I normally take a movie off everybody's list, something that I've not seen before, and add it to my watch list, and that is probably going to be the one taken off this, or possibly House of a Thousand Corpses, but I get the feeling that's probably on my watch list at some point anyway. But Grosse Point Blank is definitely one that I want to check out. Next one down is Full Metal Jacket. Stanley Kubrick's Vietnam movie. What a film. You can't mention Vietnam movies without mentioning Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket, what's the other one? Platoon, Hamburger Hill. There was a whole slew of them, sort of round about the sort of late 80s, early 90s. Full Metal Jacket is definitely one of my favourites, mostly due to the opening sequence, the training. That guy who trains them, what a pig. I understand that's how they had to be, but yeah, Full Metal Jacket is superb. It also had one hell of a 60s soundtrack. I still remember the scene, the opening scene when they go to Vietnam and Nancy Sinatra's These Boots Were Made for Walking is playing in the background. I actually bought the soundtrack album on vinyl purely because of that track. And I've still got it upstairs somewhere. I really, really must check out the rest of those vinyl soundtracks, by the way. I thought I had loads of them, but I've kind of run out. I get the feeling there's a box somewhere in the house with a load of vinyl soundtracks in, and I must find that. Full Metal Jacket will be in there. Next one, Clerks. Saw this quite recently, but I need to watch it again on the back of watching Clerks 2 and Clerks 3, but I do need to remind myself of the original. Cracking movie, directed by Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is like the ultimate Hollywood success story. He started from absolutely nothing. Clerks is pretty much, as I understand, the story of his early sort of career. He worked in that particular game in it's sort of a mini mart with a video library attached to it, and him and his mate, is it Dante? I can't remember the name of the other geezer that's in it, but it's a brilliant film. I wouldn't say it's lovely, but it is a brilliant movie, and you can certainly see why Kevin Smith pretty much got the success that he had. But it was from nothing. It was from absolutely nothing. I'm in the middle at the moment of reading his autobiography. I think it's called Tough Shit. And it's a really, really good book. I must finish that at some point. But Clerks, brilliant movie. Next one, That Thing You Do. I know next to nothing about this. Is it based in the 1960s? Something like that? I can't say I know anything about it. I recognise the title, but I couldn't tell you what it's about. I'm guessing it's to do with the music scene. Am I right? You'll have to tell me on that one. So that's his top 10. Now he's put in a few honourable mentions. Let me just read these out. The first one is Young Guns 2. Obviously sequel to Young Guns. I don't think I've ever seen that one. That's sequelophobia striking again by the sounds of it. The next one is Four Brothers. Is this to do with a criminal family? Not sure. You'll have to tell me on that one, but I've definitely heard of it. Next one is Spawn. Again, never seen it. I'm guessing it's a kind of a superhero thing, but a very dark one. I thought at first, when I first read about it, this is years ago, that it was to do with a paperback book, a horror novel that I read. many years ago, and I got quite excited about it, and then realised it was a superhero thing, and I thought, oh god, all right. So, but that's on the list there. Catch Me If You Can. This is another one I've never seen. Sorry, Mark. I do know a bit about this one. Is it Leonardo DiCaprio playing a pilot, a con man, something like that? This is one I've heard excellent things about, and one that I've always meant to get around to watching but never did. And finally, we've got We Were Soldiers. I've not seen it, but I do know it's a Mel Gibson movie. I believe it's set in the South Pacific during the war, I think. But that's one I definitely need to check out. I believe I've got that on Blu-ray upstairs somewhere, so I really do need to check that one out. So that's Mark's list. I've got two more to go. I've got Rick Malin of Old AF. I've got his list through a few days ago, and then the only other one left is my own. I will be doing my own, but it will be minus certain titles. You pretty much know what my top 4 or 5 is going to be, so I'm going to class those as honourable mentions. You know what they're going to be, and the others I'm going to try and surprise you with not so much my favourite, but 10 movies that I absolutely love, but not necessarily my favourites, but the obvious ones. Close Encounters, Saturday Night Fever. I'll do those as honourable mentions, including that there's another 3 that I'm fairly sure you will guess. So that's Mark's list. Thanks for that, mate. Much appreciated. Anybody else that wants the lists reading out, please get them over to me. As I say, I've got 2 left to do, including my own, and after that I've got to think of something else. So anybody out there that wants the top 10 movies reading out, please get them over to me ASAP. That'll be appreciated. Now, a quick list of 5 movies that I've bought recently, upon other people's recommendations, have then read about them and thought, oh my god, I'm never going to make it through that, but we'll see how we go. Let's see what I've got here. First one is this one, Waking Fright. I think I showed this one off probably a couple of weeks ago as a new acquisition. This one I saw featured on a documentary about Australian cinema, and a book that I got on the subject a few weeks ago, and I thought that sounds really intriguing. What I didn't read was many of the reviews on it, which tell me that there's quite a bit of animal cruelty in it to do with kangaroos. Now I will watch it because I do adore Australian cinema. I absolutely love it. So I will be taking this in, but I've really got to get myself in the mood for that one. But that's called Waking Fright. Next one. Why did I buy this? Straight Outta Compton. I'll tell you why I bought it, because it was about £2 something. A lot of people have recommended this to me. I have basically not bothered with it yet because I cannot stand, as you all know, I cannot abide rap music. I bloody hate it with a passion. But so many people have recommended this to me and said, if you take away the rap music, which is pretty pointless, in fact, I would think, seeing as that's what it's mostly based around, if you take away the soundtrack, you would probably enjoy it because it's a really good story. So I took their word at that, and I got this for about £2.20 or something off Amazon. It's not even out the cellophane, so it's brand new. So I will be watching this. Again, I've got to be in the right mood for it, because as soon as somebody starts rapping, I'm going to want to turn it off. But I'm going to see how I go with it. I'll take your word for it that it is really good. It's a long film as well. I believe it's... What's the running time of it? What does it say? It does somewhere on here, but I can't see it. But I believe it's well over 2 hours, so it's not going to be an easy watch as such. But I'll give it a go. See how we go with that one. Next one. The next 2 were recommended by Chris. Chris Hukin. He loves his Mel Gibson movies. Now these were directed by Mel rather than starring him. First one, The Passion of the Christ. Now this has been around for a long, long time. He tells me I am going to really, really enjoy this. I beg to differ, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. I've really, really got to pluck up the courage to watch this. It is insanely violent. It's to do with the last few hours or few days of Christ's life, and basically what they put him through before they crucified him, as if crucifixion wasn't bad enough. He was tortured, can't stand torture. This is, so I've been told, outrageously violent, but I've also been told that you come away from this movie a different person. Not sure what that means, so I do need to watch it to find out. There are two versions of the film on here. There is the strong, uncut version, and there is also a version that cuts out a lot of the more graphic violence. Now, common sense tells me I should really go for the milder version, because I might actually stand a chance of getting through that. But a lot of people are telling me, no, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it. I don't think you like censors. You don't like censorship, so why are you going to watch a censored version? Quite right. So I probably will give the strong uncut version a go, but I will have the remote control right next to me, and I will make sure I know exactly where the mute button is. Because as much as I probably will be able to watch most of it, the sound that goes with it, I don't know. But I'll see how I go with that one. But apparently it's an absolute masterpiece, and Mel directed this rather than stars in it. I also believe it's in Latin with subtitles, which is not a problem. The violence is the problem, but we'll see how we go with that one. Next one, it's another Mel Gibson movie, directed by him again, not starring him, Apocalypto. Now, the subject matter of this is fascinating to me because it's to do with the Maya civilization in, I think it's South America, Mexico, that kind of thing. And we're going back centuries. And they used to specialise in things like human sacrifice, animal sacrifice. Yeah, need I go any further? Apparently this is also very violent. Again, I need to kind of work up the courage to put this on and watch it all the way through. The 18 certificate pretty much tells you what you need to know. I don't know much about it apart from that, but again, its reputation precedes it, and the violence is what has put me off putting that on so far, but I will get round to it. And the final one, for the same reason, 12 Years a Slave. I remember watching Roots on TV many years ago, and that was violent enough for a TV programme. This apparently is horrendous. There was another one called Free State of Jones, which I believe was on Will Barlow's list, which is nowhere near as violent as this one is, so I've heard. But again, slave movies are generally pretty horrible. So as much as I've bought this and thought, oh yeah, I'll have a look at that, as soon as I've looked at the reviews and suddenly realised, hang on a minute, this is going to be awful, I thought, oh, yeah, I will do, but at some point, I don't know when though. So there you go. That's 5 movies that I've bought recently and I've shied away from watching for one reason or another. Right, next, what have I got? A couple of movies that I've watched. Let's see, first one would be one called The Babysitter, which watched last Saturday night. It's on Netflix. It's been on there for quite a while. Cracking, you class it as horror movie. Basically, a young lad has a babysitter who he fancies, and it turns out that she's part of some kind of a satanic cult. Outrageously violent, but it's real cartoon violence. It's not the sort of, oh God, sort of bone tomahawk type violence. It's real sort of, Tom and Jerry type violence. There's a lot of blood, a lot of gore, rather a nasty incident with an eye. But I quite enjoyed it. It was all right. There's apparently a sequel on there called, I think it's Babysitter Killer Queen or something like that. So maybe going to have a look at that one this weekend, see how that one goes. The next one, I watched my first 4K film in full, No Time to Die. What a movie to test the system out of. It looked absolutely glorious. I'm so pleased I got this. I have seen the movie before, probably about a year ago. Enjoyed it, but I've not seen it. It was literally like watching it for the first time. The quality is absolutely stupendous. And the movie itself, can't fault it. What a send-off for Daniel Craig. It couldn't have been any better. It's got mixed reviews. Some people like it, some people didn't. I did. I think the only Bond movie I've never really got on with is Quantum of Solace. I really do need to watch that one again. I've only seen it once, but I didn't like it at all, and I think that's probably the only Bond film that I've ever said that about. But maybe a second viewing will put that right. But if you're thinking of getting this on 4K, I would highly recommend it. Well worth getting. Next one. Let's see now. It had to come. Saturday Night Fever. There's nothing much I can say about this that I've not already said, and it will not be featuring on my top 10 list. This will be one of the honourable mentions. Now, this is a 4K print. I've already had a look at the first sort of 5-10 minutes of it, and it looks brilliant. I don't think this movie has ever looked better. You get a few extras on this, a couple of documentaries, sort of locations, sort of then and now, that kind of thing. But the movie itself, when I've actually watched it, I'll do a proper review of it. I think I did something on the website a while ago. But if you're looking at a 4K and thinking I wouldn't mind that, definitely recommend it. It looks great. And the other one I got, and I'll unbox this while I've actually got it. This isn't even out of the cellophane yet. Ghostwatch. Now, I put a review of this on the group probably last night by another guy. I can't remember who it was now, but he pretty much said everything there was to say about it. Scott, I would definitely recommend you either get this or borrow it or steal it or anything. You really do need to watch this. But I'll unbox it now because I am curious to see exactly what you get in here, even though that geezer last night unboxed his. Let's see. So, we've got a loose piece on the back, which is pretty much... Oh, no, it's not. And inside we have the Blu-ray version of the programme, and all your extras and bits and pieces are there on the back if you want to freeze frame that or whatever. And also, oops, pulling off. Also, we've got what's this? Oh, that looks like the script for Ghostwatch, complete with diagrams. That'll be interesting for a look. Also, there was another book, just articles. I hate doing this, some crap at it. Articles and stuff on them. I presume that's going to be on the making of it. Don't know yet because I've not looked. And also there are some art cards which I won't take out, but I think you get the idea. They're like postcards basically, and there's a series of those. So that's Ghostwatch. That was another one I had through. If you've never seen it, highly recommended. A classic piece of television that if you were around in 1992 and remember it, believe me, you would never forget it. You would never ever forget Ghostwatch. But yeah, highly recommended if you get the chance to watch it. Now then, what have I watched this week again? Here we go. Here's another one. Deadpool. Now, I'm going to class this as a bin it or keep it. Bin it or keep it is back. And before you all start gathering outside my door with pitchforks and bloody torches threatening to burn my haystacks down, I watched this yesterday for the first time. I have been badgered for weeks to watch this by several people who told me it is absolutely brilliant, well worth watching it, you will not regret it. I'm not going to tell you what it's about because you pretty much know what it's about. It's basically a superhero, a very sweary, violent superhero. What did I think of it? Oh God, it was all right. You know what I mean? For what it was all right. But that's pretty much it. It was all right. I thought it was brilliantly written. The script and the jokes, the lines were just superb, absolutely brilliant. But the film itself, would I watch it again? Oh, I don't know. I'm guessing probably not. As you know, I'm not a massive fan of superhero movies anyway. But I thought, if I don't watch this now, all I'm going to get when I go back to work next week is, have you seen Deadpool? Have you seen Deadpool yet? So I have seen it, and yes, it was all right. I wouldn't say it was brilliant, and I certainly wouldn't say it was bad. Ryan Reynolds is superb in it. Can't say I recognised anybody else. It was stupidly violent, but not to the point where I was covering my eyes, or, like I say, not bone tomahawk type violence, just real, literally comic book violence. But would I watch it again? I don't think so. Probably not. I've seen it now, and it's like a lot of modern films. I only tend to watch movies more than once if I've seen them more than once anyway. Stuff like Jaws, that kind of thing. Sort of movies from the 70s, 80s, possibly a couple from the 90s. That's my dog. But modern movies, very, very rarely will I watch them more than once. For no other reason than... maybe it's an age thing, I don't know. But now, once I've seen something, I've seen it, and that's it. So this will be, not binned, it will be going to the charity shop or something like that. Basically because I won't watch it again. But what did I think of it? I thought it was okay. I thought it was all right. It gave me a few laughs in a few places. And I thought it, like I say, it was really well written. The action was well choreographed. The violence was as bloody as you could possibly get it with is it a 15 certificate? They push the limit with it a little bit, but this is what they do in it. But will I watch it again? I don't think so. So bin it or keep it. Deadpool is a bin it. Please don't blame me for that. I know what you're all thinking. God, he'd rather watch something like The Killer Toaster from New York or something. You're probably right. But yeah, Deadpool, I won't watch it again, but it was an enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours. So I finally watched it. So, right, very quickly, soundtrack of the week is this one, The Sound of ITC. Now, in the 60s, pretty much every action TV programme was an ITC production. And this has got a lot of the themes from those programmes. So you're looking at themes like Danger Man, Gideon's Way, The Baron, The Saint, Roger Moore, The Prisoner, Patrick McGowan, The Champions, which was a cracking series, Department S, again, superb, Randall and Hopkirk, Deceased, can't fault it, Strange Report, don't remember much about that one, The Persuaders, Tony Curtis and Roger Moore, amazing series, Jason King, which was a spin-off from Department S, The Adventurer, I think that was Gene Barry, an American guy, The Zoo Gang, I remember the theme from that very well. That's Paul McCartney and Wings. And Return of the Saint, which was Ian Ogilvy's follow-up, 1970s follow-up to the original Saint, which was obviously Roger Moore. And Return of the Saint actually wasn't bad. I can still watch those now. So yeah, that's soundtrack of the week. Right, that is it for this week. I'll be back again next week on Saturday with the usual chit-chat and all that sort of thing. Thanks ever so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. I would really, really appreciate that. And as I say, anybody that's got a top 10 that they want reading out, send it over to me as soon as you can. And please don't berate me for not liking Deadpool. I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said I probably wouldn't watch it again. But as I say, it was an enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours. But would I watch it again? Highly unlikely. So hoping you'll not find me... beaten up in a corner somewhere for not liking Deadpool. So have a good week, folks, and I will talk to you all again next week. Thanks ever so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Ta-da.